I went on a week-long yoga retreat with one of my best friends in Costa Rica this August, and we loved it. We touched down in San Jose on Friday, August 25th, and stayed in Hotel Rodeo for less than 12 hours, because we had a 6 a.m. van pick us up the next day. The yoga resort Anamaya is in Montezuma, on the southern tip of the Nicoya Peninsula. So we took a car to a ferry from Punta Arenas across the Gulf to another car, finally arriving in Anamaya. They took such good care of us, proactively asked for our flight details before we left, and coordinated the whole journey over, so I knew we were in good hands. And honestly, the ferry ride and drives were pretty scenic, so I didn't mind the journey. Now, when I say my jaw dropped at the first sight of this resort, I mean the views were even more stunning than the photos, or really anything I could have imagined. Anamaya sits on the top of a hill, so you get this gorgeous, expansive view of the ocean, but also the forest in between. And there was also a bunch of wildlife there. So a couple iguanas, including this guy. He was definitely the most handsome, but there was also a family of at least 30 coati or pizote. They're cute. It was multiple generations, from little baby to a grandpa. There were also tons of geckos and howler monkeys, which sound like a very low siren when they howl. You'll have to look up a video. Anyway, we got a coconut, lunch, and we're shown to our room. Each room is its own cabina. Most have ocean views, with one room called the jungle cabina that has 3 walls of windows, so you're surrounded by trees and kind of feel like you're in the jungle. And then there's also one tree house that you take a couple sets of stairs up to, and it's its own structure, and apparently sometimes sways in the wind, but it's really big and cool, so if you're into that. Anyway, this first day and night felt magical. I rarely see a whole sky light up purple, but the mix of storm clouds and ambient light just made me so excited for the week ahead. Good morning, Costa Rica. Okay, hello. Oh god. Hi, I'm Jessie.
I'm Ariel.
We're both from Brooklyn, New York. I live in Williamsburg.
I'm in Greenpoint.
And we've been friends since high school, so we've known each other for like 10 years.
Yeah.
We've been doing yoga classes around the city for a while and wanted, one, a vacation and like a reset. It was looking into yoga retreats, so that's how we ended up here. We did like 30 minutes of research.
Pretty much. Definitely lucked out given how little I think we knew coming into it. We kind of wanted that impulsive,
Yeah, true.
throw yourself in the deep end kind of experience.
We've already met everyone. There's 9 people in our group, including our instructor, who's from Australia and lives in Costa Rica. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And we just had our first yoga session. It was an hour and a half vinyasa, and I already feel so good.
Yeah. I feel like the entire last 24 hours have been like just absolutely
Magic.
perfect, seamless, like unreal.
What are you most excited for?
I think just fully unplugging from social media, thinking about work. I think when I go back home, I have a lot to be stressed about, where I'm gonna live, what I want to do about work. So I'm excited to just fully be unplugged from that and like actually spend some time focusing on myself.
Yeah. My intention for like yoga this morning was be present and surrender. I was like, I want to soak everything in, like all the new experiences, all of the sights and sounds and tastes. The food's been so good so far.
Yeah.
I guess surrendering's part of that. I think the other side of it is like deepening my intuition and starting to like what I think I want and being more aligned with that, and have like my intuition drive forward what I want to do after this retreat.
Yeah, I think we both talked about wanting to leave all inhibitions behind and like on this trip be yes people.
Yeah.
Like, just saying yes to new experiences and any form of judgment that we might have had before kind of leaving behind.
Let's start off with the reason why we're here, the yoga sessions and ceremonies. This was the walk to our evening yoga platform and where we held our 3 workshops or ceremonies. We had an hour and a half of vinyasa every morning and 1 hour of yin, where you can use a bolster, a blanket, and hold poses for at least 5 deep breaths, but often we held them longer. I don't usually practice yin, but I really loved how this class would begin around sunset and we would relax into our bodies as the night fell around us. And by the end, we're emerging into darkness under the moonlight. It was really an incredible feeling that is hard to capture in words. Our teacher Karen also shared so many pieces of wisdom. One of my favorites was that your mind is like the ocean. As waves roll in, it kicks up sand and clouds the water. Only in stillness does the sand settle. Only then can you see through the ocean clearly. Another one she repeated is that the world order has good things in store for you. Wherever you go, you are safe. Trust in the universe. Trust in yourself. Based on our fire ritual, gratitude ceremony, and cacao ceremony with ecstatic dance, I would say the theme of the week for me was letting go and reviving my inner voice. As Karen said, this is a revival of your life, of your relationships. You don't need to go back to who you were. Be who you are.
Reach your arms up high towards the sky. Exhale, place your hands up towards your heart with your butterfly mudra, so your thumbs are together, your fingertips are away.
I also liked how there were different themes throughout the week, so each of our lessons would focus on a different chakra. We started with the hips, stomach, a heart opener, throat opener, and then your crown, where we practiced some headstands, and definitely one of my goals now. Another reason I loved this trip was all of the adventure and things that we got to do. The resort was right next to a short waterfall hike. The water was brown from a storm earlier that night, but people still jumped in. Ariel, Alicia, one of the other guests, and I also went ziplining on a course with 8 different zip lines that went above the roaring waterfall, and that was super fun. I also went on my first surfing lesson. We walked a mile along the beach to get to our spot and passed an absolute reserve, which means humans aren't even allowed in this national park. It's fully protected for wildlife. And unfortunately we couldn't bring our phones onto the beach, but it was so fun going with our whole group, cheering each other on, and I even stood up a few times, so definitely better than I thought. And I would love to try surfing again. So shout out to our guide Guillermo. It was also fun exploring the town of Montezuma, and there were so many cows, and I freaking love cows, so yeah, we would drive by so many cows. Later in the week, I went on a tour through a nature reserve with a local tour guide named Luis, and there was a mangrove forest, trees of all different kinds, super old ones with long windy roots. We also saw a bunch of animals, like the agouti, the howler monkeys I mentioned before, and more kawaii. If I were to go back, I'd love to go see the rainforest that's more in the northern and main side. And lastly, it was just nice hanging out around the resort, chilling by the pool and chatting with people. A lot of folks also got massages at the spa. This is one of the most gorgeous, relaxing rooms I've been in. And I loved that we shared all of our meals with the group and really got to know each other over the week. What were your favorite memories from this week?
I have so many, but if I had to pick one, I'd say there was one afternoon that we went on a tour of the Anamaya farm, and then after that we all went to the beach in Santa Teresa, and we got to hang out by the beach and watch the sunset, and I think the sunset would probably be my favorite memory. First of all, it was like the weather was perfect, the beachside restaurant had live music playing, the sunset was beautiful.
There were surfers.
There were people surfing, and then there was also just this immense feeling of community because so many people, like young families with their kids playing fetch with their dog, like everyone just gathered on the beach and was just sitting there watching the sunset, and it was, yeah, just everything about it. I felt like it was the type of scene like you couldn't even curate it for a movie. Like it was just perfect.
Felt like a dream.
What was yours?
So out of the 3 workshops, like all of the workshops were such a highlight, but I think the cacao ceremony and ecstatic dance.
We did 3 different workshops that, like, with a bunch of strangers you wouldn't imagine yourself just opening up and crying in front of, but we all did. And we laughed so much.
Like, yeah, belly laughing.
Just
like,
genuine laughter and joy.
I think just like how comfortable, like you said, and vulnerable we were, because it feels silly to like just dance and move freely again with all these like strangers. But at that point, like we were pretty comfortable with each other, and I think just the way that our teacher like led us through it was really freeing, and the music was great, and we were all just like having a great time, enjoying ourselves and just like letting our body move.
Now when I listen to some of the songs that she played during the cacao ceremony, it makes me almost emotional.
Aww. They did a special performance, and they brought this like fire poi dancer, and he was incredible. Like we love you, Eli.
I love a little bit.
Yeah, the spine's your way back to you. But he had like 3 different dances, entire night. It was also one of the other women, it was her birthday on the retreat, and it was the super blue moon. So it was just like all around a majestic night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to take away from the retreat and kind of bring home with you?
During the cacao ceremony, we asked the cacao to tell us something.
Yeah.
And I think for both of us, it was like, how do I live with my heart? Letting more love in, and I think throughout this week, like learning to love myself more. I am just excited to bring that like positive energy forward.
Yeah, really similar for me. I think it made me aware of like things that I want to work more on. Like we had the gratitude ceremony that I actually found like really challenging. The night prior when we did the letting go ceremony, I found it so easy to identify what in my life isn't serving me and what things I'm longing for, but it was a lot harder to like appreciate what things I currently have. So I know that that's something that I want to continue working on. It also made me realize like there's so many things about myself I don't know, and I'm really excited to continue on this journey and find out more about myself. I never considered kind of yoga teacher training as something in my path in the future, but yeah, I really do want to deepen my yoga practice as well, so that was a cool realization. And
yeah, same. I definitely want to try and practice yoga every morning. I think it also made me realize just like how much beauty there is in the world, and one of the things that kept coming up was the limitless possibilities.
Allowing yourself to dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing like all the different walks of life that people came from or that you can pursue.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about how the owner, Joseph, seems to live such a like exciting nomadic lifestyle. Like we got to tour some of his tree houses. And
he built
himself. So many different ways to live your life, and you don't have to be 100% one way or 100% another. You can pick and choose what aspects of different lifestyles serve you.
And life can change too.
And it can change later on. I think leaving the retreat, I felt just such sadness. Like I was like crying the last day about the thought of leaving, coming back to real life. And we were talking about like that idea, it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. And I was like, oh, I feel like it's so easy to fall into living the rest of your life seeking the type of happiness and joy and peace that we kind of found at Anamaya.
Yeah. I think that kind of goes back to being present, as allowing yourself to feel everything. Like we had moments of, you know, when we were crying and reckoning with the things that we wanted to let go, but then also looking forward to the future, or, you know, calling new new aspects into our life or expressing gratitude. And I feel like the key is to be able to hold all of those things together
Yeah.
and balance somehow.
Yeah, balance.
Definitely one of my favorite vacations.
Absolutely.